Welcome to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we dive deep and answer the ultimate question: how did you hack into tech sales? Each week, we bring you inspiring stories, proven strategies, and insider tips from top performers who've cracked the code to break into tech sales and thrive. Whether you're just starting out, making a career pivot, or ready to level up, this is your go-to space for actionable advice and real-world success stories. Let's crack the code together, because hacking into tech sales isn't just a dream, it's your next move. Now with your host, the founder of Tech Sales Funnels and the tech sales hacker himself, Dayvisson Da Silva.
All right, everyone, welcome again to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast. I'm your guest, Dayvisson Da Silva, the tech sales hacker. So I'm going to help you to hack into tech sales. Keep listening. Keep tuning in, because today I'm going to bring an amazing friend, a seller, an amazing guy. You just need to get to know him. I'm not going to talk much. He's going to talk about himself in just a little bit. But he's my mentor. He was my mentor when I was at Microsoft. And anyways, I was looking forward to this moment since I started this podcast. So I'm super grateful that he was finally able to get some time to talk to us today. So I'm going to bring him to stage. Here we go. Thomas, what's up?
Hey, Dayvisson, how are you?
I'm good. Looks like you are in the outdoors, enjoying your beautiful day today.
Yeah,
Thanks so much for tuning in, man.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm super excited. You have an amazing story. And whoever's listening today, please pay close attention to see, is like the typical like hero story, like how did you go from this point to this point? It takes a lot of hard work, a lot of strategy. So hopefully we're gonna get some of those nuggets today with Thomas. Now, Thomas, can you give tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are? Let's forget a little bit about sales and tech sales.
For sure.
Let's high level, so everyone can get to know you a little bit better.
Much appreciated. Yeah, so Thomas McDermott, I am based out of Salt Lake City, Utah. And most importantly, I'm a father of four. I've been married for about, 15 years, 16 years. I should know, so hopefully my wife doesn't see this. But so I've been married for a good time. And honestly, just most important thing to me in life is being a part of my kid's life and being a good husband. And then on top of that is figuring out different ways to help people and drive forward success and whatever that means to them, right? Not just monetary stuff, but also it's success in life. If it's establishing relationships, if it's uncovering passions, desires, whatever it may be, like awesome. I want to be there and help people do that. And on top of that, I'm a sports enthusiast. I actually help run the whole rugby community for the youth in the state of Utah. And so heavily involved in that, skiing and tennis and you name it. It's a blast. So, but that's a little snippet about me in 30 seconds.
Thank you. It's funny that you say the whole rugby is a blast. I have a really bad memory for rugby. So my wife decided she wasn't going to BYU in Utah as well, and she decided to play rugby for the college. And I was like, hey, go ahead and do it. It was an amazing workout. She loved it. And then, man, the first game, I was like, oh, she just broke her. Anyways, blood everywhere. Anyways, super exciting game. But then she ended up in the hospital, and I was like,
oh,
all right, this is a very expensive game for us. Maybe people see this PL. Anyways, I love rugby, man. I love football. I'm so grateful that you do that, and to see you active in the community. I just wanted to make that side note. Now, amazing family, and it's hard to balance work and family and all that. And maybe we can talk a little bit more about that in the future.
mm-hmm. Yeah,
Let's dive into your career. Like, how did you tell us a little bit more? Like the very first jobs you had, and how did you decide to transition to tech sales? Right?
Yeah.
Not even like the process that of the application yet, but how did you get into that point that you decide to go into tech sales, right?
Yeah, it's oftentimes when you're forced to figure out what you're passionate about, that's when you actually figure out what you're passionate about and what you want to do and where you can actually find joy. Uh, I know you and I have had separate conversations about, the monetary stuff and, when does the money come and all that different stuff. That's all down the road. But I would say I was forced into figuring out quickly what I was passionate about. And it just so happened to be in the tech world. Even growing up as a kid, reflecting back now, I always loved technology. I loved screens. I loved trying to figure out, okay, how did this thing work? Or if someone couldn't figure it out on the computer, I'm like, oh, cool. Let me take that on myself. I'm going to figure out how to do it. And so moving forward, I'm going, okay, what do I want to do? I was, again, forced into this path. What am I wanting to do? What am I wanting to find? Something where it's something new and creative every day. And that's where, again, I was forced in the technology path, and I have found myself really well. I've been here, in the tech space for probably about 20 years now. So
Whoa.
it's, it's been a little while, but I mean, obviously technology's changed exponentially over the last 20 years, and it's so exciting and it's so fun, tough to keep up oftentimes with all the developments that are coming out constantly, but needless to say, I found the passion that I love and chased it.
I love it. I love it. And for those of you listening and think about tech sales, it's fast. Nothing stops. You have to always be learning. You have to be willing to have a growth mindset where something that you're selling this week or this month might not be the same that you're going to be selling 3 months, right? So it's really exciting. For me, it's exciting too.
Yeah, there's the saying in tech that the only constant is change. So when you think about it from that perspective, right, is nothing is the exact same. Nothing is ever the exact same in technology, and especially when you're working with large enterprise customers and or working for large enterprises. That's where there's this constant development. And then don't get me wrong, there's still some of these smaller companies and startups that all of a sudden have developed this incredible technology that you're going, oh my gosh, how could I use that? How could I take what they're doing and help enable my customers to do X, Y, or Z, or accomplish their goal, or have a broader reach, or streamline supply chain issues, whatever it may be. So it's, again, the only constant is change in technology.
Love that quote. That's really good. How did you tell us a little bit more about when you started in tech sales? So tell us a little bit your first job in tech sales. How did you get that first job? And what kind of skills did you use before for your prior work that were transferable, right? Because that's one of the questions that a lot of people have. Is like, okay, Dayvisson, can I really do tech sales? Oh, I have done this and that. I'm a teacher or whatever. Like, do I have the skills that what it takes? Like, what kind of skills do you think was helpful from the previous job to the first job you got in tech sales?
Yeah. So Dayvisson, you're going to laugh. I was a waiter at a couple different places going through college. I worked 3 jobs in college. Detailing cars was one of them. Another one was being a waiter. And anyway, and then I did some other random side gigs on the side. But I would say, honestly, being a waiter was one of the best ways to figure out how to connect with people. So when you go to restaurants, obviously the waiter comes up and I say, hey, can I take your order? Or if you had a chance to look at the menu, whatever it is, right? What I've come to the realization of in my time now is that it's all about making that quick connection and establishing that quick connection where if you take a genuine interest in the person. So a prime example, when I go through the Starbucks drive-through, or whenever I go to, honestly, any drive-through, any restaurant, I always, for example, at Starbucks, hey, what can we make for you today? Or welcome to Starbucks, what can we make for you today? And although I appreciate that question, I never answer it first. I always say, hi, how are you? Inevitably, it catches them off guard every single time. And they're like, oh, well, I'm good, thanks. How are you? Totally changes the perspective and the tune. Then I'll place my order. I'll go through the drive-through. When I go through the drive-through, and of course I go the one closest to my house, and I'll look, and I know most people's names. I'm very focused on remembering people's names. And so I'll say, oh, Dayvisson, hey, so great to see you. How are you doing today? Even if I already asked him through the little microphone, I still
Wow.
ask him again, how are you doing? And I learned this being a waiter because I figured, and I'll be honest here, the more personal connection you can make with the person
Bigger
or
the
the
tip.
table, you get a good tip. And on top of that, that also just helps you establish that relationship where it's like, oh, okay, you know what? They actually trust what I'm going to tell them, which is honestly, you should
Mhm.
always tell the truth, anyways. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
that's when you have that opportunity to say, hey, you know what? The surf and turf, like, ugh, I don't know if I would go with the surf and turf. And people are like, oh, I appreciate your honesty. And it's not because it's the highest, ticket item on the menu. It's, I'm just being genuine and honest. So, anyways, all of that
Mhm.
to say, I started out as a waiter
Yeah.
and was doing that through college, and then got serious with my now wife, and I was like, okay, I gotta figure something else out, especially if I want to start a family. And so I moved into another area of customer service, which was working for Franklin Covey at the time, and
Mm.
I guess they're still around, they're a great company. But started working for Franklin Covey, and I was specifically on the customer service side. So there,
Okay.
I had the opportunity to help clients register for different seminars. Right, webinars weren't a thing yet, not necessarily. They were still coming onto the scene, but it was helping people kind of register for and learn more about these different seminars. So it was somewhat of a sales pitch, but at the same time, it was still very much of
Mhm.
a, you're already 90% down the path. I'm just helping you get the last 10%. So relatively easy, quote unquote, sale.
Uh-huh.
But again, the customer service side of things and being able to establish that personal connection really altered the way things transpired. Um, then quickly moving into left there, decided I was going to go do mortgages for a little while, which was perfect timing, right when the economy started to kind of falter and fail back in '08,
Mhm.
'07, '08 timeframe. So I ended up being laid off my job during that time. It was unfortunately one of those kind of last to hire, first to fire things,
Mhm.
and I was super distraught at the time. I was like, oh my gosh, like what's going to happen?
Next. Yeah.
And really just feeling hopeless. And I got to the point where I'm like, okay, what is it that I want? And so what I did is I took my skills from being a waiter, of establishing those personal connections, and I said, I need to tap into my network and figure out who in my network is doing what, and what is it
Mhm.
that I would be interested in doing with them. I have a great group of buddies, some that I played rugby with, some that were just friends from life. And I reached out to this group. They said, "Oh, hey, we're working over at this tech company. It was a
Mm.
Seagate company, so Seagate Technologies that does hard drives and all that stuff."
Okay.
And
Yeah, I
they said,
remember
hey,
that.
yeah, yeah, great. So it was
Yeah.
actually I went over to one of their subsidiaries called eVault, and I was
Oh
doing
yeah.
data backup, disaster recovery, endpoint protection, and that was really kind of my segue into tech sales, if you will, where I started going over there, and I'm like, wow, this is something else, right?
The new world.
Yeah, and it was fun. The culture was pretty cool. I loved my group of guys that I had. I went to lunch with one of them yesterday, or 2 days ago, excuse me, and uh, having those personal relationships makes all the difference while trying to find your passion. And so I would say that's
Mm.
kind of what parlayed me into it. Along that other path, I left some details out, but I've
Of
actually been
course.
laid off two different jobs, ironically, and both of them have kind of set me on this trajectory to where I am at now, where about almost a decade in at Microsoft, and
Wow.
it's been a ride, and it's been challenging, frustrating, amazing, exciting, wonderful. You name all the emotions, and it's a roller coaster. You know how it is.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, that was a roller coaster.
Yeah, it's been a it's been a journey, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, you did an amazing job summarizing like in 5 minutes. I know you could probably talk for 5 days, in detail.
Yep.
But wow, you started as a waiter. That was kind of your first job, and you did a bunch of other things, and then you got those skills, customer service skills. And what do you do? I've been with you a few times, and I know you do exactly that. You call people by name. It's an amazing skill, and you're really good at connecting people,
Thank you.
which for sales is like super important, right? Sometimes you have 5 minutes to make an impression. Um, And for everyone listening here, there's no. I mean, you can come from any background as long as you are um, self-aware. I would say of the skills you have, right? So you got it, but something that he said here, I want to reinforce the network. His friends and try to figure out what to do next. Um, some of your friends were already in the industry. Did they send you like a recommendation? Say, hey, you should apply to this job. How easy it was to get into actually get the job? Now let's get into nitty gritty. Like you're like they got your resume. And like it came from where? Did you submit online? It was a LinkedIn or
Mhm.
was your friend who handed? Tell
Yeah.
us a little bit about that interview process on the very, very first one. Then we're gonna jump
Very,
all the way to Microsoft because I
yeah.
wanted to
Okay.
know because as you can see here, I'm bringing like top notch 1% sellers in the world in tech sales. So people want to hear how the heck you got into Microsoft.
Yeah.
We're gonna get let's go to the very first job and then we're gonna jump all the way to Microsoft.
Yeah. Absolutely. No, I appreciate it. So, one, of course, was just sitting there and saying, okay, hey guys, I want to talk to you. So I was talking to that small group of folks again, of my buddies. And I said, hey guys, talk to me. Let's go out to lunch and let's talk about your job. What do you like about it? What don't you like about it? Kind of, talked through all those different components of it. And then I said, all right, now that we've talked through that stuff, let's figure out what's next. And I said, I would love to come work with you guys. And I said, I know that if I go ahead and if I put this into, if I submit my resume online, that's fine, but it's going to
Mm-hmm.
get just lost in the shuffle with
Yeah.
the other 1,000 applicants that are going through. And they're like, yeah. And I was like, so can I ask you a favor? They said, sure. I said, I'm going to hand you my resume. I want you to go ahead and submit it internally as a referral. And then can you also take a paper copy and go and give it to HR? And they
Mm-hmm.
were like, yeah. And I said, and here's the deal. I promise you that I'm not gonna be a schlop. I'm not gonna do a poor job,
Make it look good.
but
Yeah.
I'm really gonna make it so this looks good on you too. And they're like, okay. So they went in, they submitted to HR. I was fortunate enough to go in, had a couple interviews, and ironically had some connections, which probably helped me. Had some
Yeah.
connections with the hiring manager, or excuse me, with the sales manager that was hiring,
There you
and I
go.
connected with him, and which again, all about your network, right? And trying to figure out like those little pieces, like, oh wait, so your last name's this, okay, wait, do you know, like, oh, okay, cool, or where did you go to school? Obviously do your research before you go in for interviews, highly recommend it. And
Mm.
then trying to figure out that commonality and build on that to set yourself apart, as opposed to, hey, yeah, go ahead, just ask me all the questions and I'll answer it, and I have no idea who you are. It doesn't make sense. It's all about
Yeah.
building that relationship and establishing that connection, and then trying to figure out, okay, how can I add value to them while they're going to add value to me by giving me a job. So that's what happened, and I was able to make a connection, and he gave me a shot. Dylan Ferguson, great guy, gave me a shot at eVault, and very grateful for that opportunity, as that's kind of what's put me forward on this projection, this path of life.
Nice. Nice. So it was like a one shot interview, hiring manager, and
Uh,
then
I think I went through three interviews. Oh gosh, I think it was about three interviews at that time, meeting with
okay.
different people going in, and then of course there was like, oh gosh, did I get the job? Did I not? And then, of course you start to get mental and being like, oh gosh, like did I mess up? Did I misspeak? Should I have said that? Be yourselves. When you're looking to do interviews, be yourselves. Be confident in who you are. Be proud of who you are and what you've accomplished. Do your research on the people, and as long as you're genuine, you'll do great.
I love it. When you got the offer, first offer in tech sales, were you just like, all right, let's go, let's get this done, or were you like, oh shoot, what's gonna happen?
Yeah,
What am I
yeah.
supposed to do?
It was a inside sales job, so it's smiling and dialing all day long,
There you go.
and it was one of those experiences that I was like, all right, this is my opportunity. I had a buddy that went out on a limb for me. I need to prove my worth to him and to his management so he doesn't look bad. It's not that I didn't know my own worth. It was,
Yeah,
I need to make sure that I'm adding value because he took a chance on me. So that's exactly what
nice.
happened. And I smiled and I dialed, and I tried to figure it all out. And it was great. I opened up a new territory in West Texas, actually. And
Oh, okay.
so everything from, El Paso and Corpus Christi and that whole area. I mean, Corpus Christi kind of up McAllen and over to El Paso. So open up a brand new territory for eVault, and a great
Nice.
experience. Definitely learned a lot. I think one of the biggest things, and one of the things I'm grateful for, is that I've had a lot of rejection in my life
Mm-hmm.
through different experiences, whether it's through trying to make it on a sports team, for example. I didn't make a sports team once that I was like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? I've had it where, knocking doors, for example, and it's just constant rejection, rejection, rejection. So I don't
Mm-hmm.
want what you're wanting to talk to me about. And I'm like, all right, okay, that's fine. And it's okay to be rejected. It's just part of life. And as soon as you kind of good understanding that it's not about you per se, maybe it partly is, but as long as you're able to say, you know what, it's okay, rejection's okay, and move on, life is totally different and it turns into a game. And that's exactly what tech sales has become for me.
I love it. I don't know if you noticed, but when he was explaining how he got into talk to his friend about getting his resume to the HR and all that, he totally made a sell right there. He totally told him sell. Then he went to the close, and his friend accepted, and he followed up and got interviewed. So getting to tech sales is a sales of yourself, right? So you have to be able to show your value and to be able to sell yourself and then go from there. I love this story. I'm looking at your LinkedIn here. You went to Evolve and then you went to Soft Choice.
Mhm.
Uh, Maybe we can quickly jump to Soft
Yeah.
Choice, but then I
Yeah.
want to get all the way to Microsoft. So why did you transition Evolve, Soft Choice, and why did you go from Soft Choice to Microsoft? Of course,
Yeah.
Microsoft.
Yeah. No, it's great. Yeah. I'll be happy to tell you. So Evault was great. Awesome experience there. Met some incredible people. And what I realized personally is I didn't love sitting there smiling and dialing and being behind a desk all day. I love connecting with people, being face to face and saying, what
Mm-hmm.
makes you tick? What makes you the way you are? Where did you grow up? What experiences did you have in life that led you to here? Which is awesome, Dayvisson, is exactly what you're doing here with these interviews.
Yeah.
And so I basically started kind of looking online and saying, okay, like, what are some different jobs? And ended up learning about Soft Choice, which is a reseller of products. So
Mm-hmm.
they do licensing for pretty much every technology under the sun, and they also do hardware products and things like that. And it was specifically for an outside sales position. And so I'm like,
Mm-hmm. There you
I
go.
want this job. I want to do this. And the nice thing was is that I already had some tech sales on my resume. And so again,
Yeah.
it was trying to figure out, okay, who can I connect with to try and make a connection to go out on a limb and trust me. And so I kind of tried to search through my network and try and find anyone that I could that I would have a connection to and reach out to them and learn more about the position. And so I was fortunate enough that I was able to go in and interview. Interviewed with a wonderful man, Bob Harden, great guy. He was. I feel very fortunate. He went out on a limb for me, extended the offer to me. At which point I started diving in and I got some Cisco certifications and some different security certifications and all these different, wonderful things that are great. Uh, but one of the biggest pieces was Microsoft. And so I'll connect the dots, I promise. But so what I realized is I'm like, okay, there's all these cool large technology companies that I work with. What can I do or what do I need to do in order to get to one of those? That was ultimately my goal when I got into
Mm-hmm.
Soft Choice. And again, Soft Choice was a great company, but it was like, okay, what's next? And so what I did, of course, while working with customers, I learned a lot about the Microsoft ecosystem. And I'd say one of the most important things I did was I connected with the Microsoft reps. And I said, hey
Mm-hmm.
guys, again, going back to my waitering days, I said, hey, what's most important to you? What do you get paid on so that I can figure out how to add value back to you?
Nice. Nice.
And the Microsoft reps were like, well, this is what we get paid on. These are the different metrics we have this year. I said, cool. I totally appreciate that. Allow me to go in and sell your product for you in our joint accounts. And
Wow. Nice.
yeah, and candidly, the Microsoft guys were like, okay, yeah, we've heard
Yeah.
we've heard it a million different times. And it wasn't that they've heard it a million different times. It was that someone actually took action on it. And so
Mm-hmm.
I can pause there for a moment if you have questions about Soft Choice, and then I can kind of finish the story as to how I got into Microsoft if you want.
No, yeah, no, that was amazing how you you were thinking ahead, but also strategically trying to add value to your current job, right? So it's always like that. Like, um, no matter what you're doing now, just keep adding value to what you're doing. But then you gotta have a strategy. What's next? And yeah, I would love to now transition to Microsoft. And
Hmm.
as you were building those relationships, you probably got to know a lot of people.
Yeah.
Then you start thinking more about Microsoft. And then, as you can see here, everyone, it's tech building, right? There's not like a straight sprint. There's no miracle. It's a hard work. It's also it's a journey. And in Microsoft, like, I mean, tell us a little bit more. How was the process to getting to the best?
Yeah.
And right? And how hard was it? And people want to hear that. Like, everyone is very curious about breaking to the big techs, right?
Yeah. Yeah. No, absolutely. So again, going back to the relationship building side of things, I figured out what the Microsoft reps got paid on. I established a close relationship with them, and I said, I'm going to sell your product. And that's what I did. As I really helped focus on selling their product. And what that ended up doing is that I ended up really getting them to trust me more and more. So they were like, okay,
Mm-hmm.
hey, man, like, we trust Thomas. We know he's a good guy. He's a hard worker. He's not going to ever make us look bad. And so I said, hey, guys, if there's a job that ever opens up at Microsoft, and if I can find it, would you be willing to refer me? And they're like, oh,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, yeah, of course. No big deal.
I was
So
selling.
all selling, right? And so I was fortunate enough that they were able to go ahead and there was a job that opened up. And candidly, I had no business getting that job. The reason being
Mhm.
is it was an account executive position specifically dedicated to the educational space. So I was covering Utah and Nevada.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay, that doesn't, I don't have any experience in education or SLED, like,
Uh-huh.
state, local government, as well as education. I was like, I don't have any experience with that. I was more so focused on kind of enterprise customers. And needless to say, I was fortunate enough, again, very similar thing. Hey, can you refer me? And they said, yeah, absolutely. And I said, can you figure out who the hiring manager is? They said, absolutely. So they did all
Nice.
of that. I did my own research and then was called in for an interview. And when I went in for an interview that same day, well, correction, a week before, I had a gentleman sit down with me. Actually, I had a couple guys. Keith Ward, big shout out to him. Big shout out to Shane Lowe, Brian Trampleasure, some of these guys, Dan Seed. Anyways, incredible individuals. And they essentially sat down with me and said, let's put together a good, like a walking deck. Like you need to sit down and you need to
Mm-hmm.
have this dialed in. You need to talk about who your biggest customers are, what you've sold, why you sold it, how you sold it. Just a
Mm-hmm.
really good walking deck that allows someone that if I only had 5 minutes to meet you, I could pull it up and flip through it and be like, okay, this is who Thomas is, right?
Wow.
So
Okay.
put together the walking deck, went in for interview, sat down, and I came prepared. And as people like to say, I brought the receipts. And I walked in with my walking deck. I was very professional, and I knew my counterpart, also a great individual, that was also interviewing for the job that had already had experience with all of these accounts and specifically education and dealing with Microsoft and all that. And the long and short of the story is I was able to come out on top because I came prepared. I knew who he was, meaning who the hiring manager was. And while my interview was taking place, I think I had it was 9 different referral emails sent from
Wow.
Microsoft employees over to this hiring manager, which he was like, this is the most, like 9 emails, like that's crazy. And
I
so,
love
yeah, so it was super exciting. And that was my kind of first segue into Microsoft, being an account executive and starting the whole journey of
uh,
Microsoft.
textbook here.
No,
So
it was a
let
long
me
story.
rewrite just a minute so
Yeah.
you can dissect what he just did. I try to teach people that as a coach, right? So first, he got a recommendation, right? So with that relationship, a lot of people, because they get a recommendation, they think the job is done. Very clearly, the very first thing that he said after I got a recommendation, I did my research. That's what I heard. So he started preparing himself. Now, this whole walking deck thing is part of Microsoft culture. So he knew a little bit more about the culture. The information came from some of the internal people. Let's build this thing. So every organization might have something different. I don't know, but Walking Deck is big in Microsoft, right? So, man,
It's not just a walking deck. It's you don't staple it together. I literally went to, I can't remember, like Kinko's or Office Max or something like that, where they literally spiral bound it, and I had like a leather thing on the back that made it so it was like I had a plastic sheet on the front. It was like hats off to the chef. It was awesome.
That's all we. So when you get a chance, when you get the games, the final game, you're like, this is it. Like, I'm going for the. You have to give all. Like, sometimes people get burned out. I see that people get burned out on applications, and then they finally get an interview and they're kind of burned out. No, like now's the time to give all in, and that's what I heard for you. Like, all the things that you did, 9 emails, like just to get those recommendations coming through. That was a lot of work, right? So everyone listening to this, to get to the pro level, like Thomas level here, you gotta play like a pro, right? Don't get to the final game and kind of thinking like, yeah, this is it. I'm just gonna perform like I was did. That's the time that you give it all, and that's what made you get the offer. I get it. You know that already. So thanks for sharing that, because that was very impactful, because a lot of people, again, hopefully it's not you listening to this, don't give up towards the end, don't slow down, just accelerate, give it all, play into the last minute.
Absolutely.
I love that. Wow, man. I know you, so it's hard for me to just stay in this topic of tech sales and get into tech sales, but I know that's what people are listening here, they want to hear.
That's great.
But we could go so many levels. 30 minutes has passed, as you can see. Those conversations go like this. Now we have to come to a close here. Thomas, you have been tech sales for so many years, and you can be 100% honest. Your perspective. What's coming? What do you feel like is the future of tech sales? Like, should people even consider tech sales? Like, why, that kind of stuff, and people who are in the fence and listening to this.
Yeah. So, gosh, the future of tech sales. So my highly recommended approach would be learn about AI. So I used to go back and forth and say, oh, geez, like, is AI going to replace sales individuals? And I think in certain areas it will, candidly. However, do I think it's going to supplement a lot of the different work and create new jobs? So when I was in education, one of the things that there was a study that was done that said, and I hope I'm remembering this correctly, it was 75% of the jobs that will be in demand 5 years from now don't exist today.
Well, 75, yeah.
75% of jobs that will be in demand. Yeah. I mean, like, even think about it from a tech sales perspective, right? Is when did you ever learn about data scientists? When did you ever learn about prompt engineers, right? None of this stuff actually were, I don't want to say real jobs. That's not the right term. But do I believe that the shift in sales is going to be exponentially different with what tools we have today and what's coming out in the future? Absolutely. But that's the most exciting part. Don't be afraid. Be confident in who you are. Find your passion and chase it.
I love it. Wow. Thanks so much, Thomas. Those listening here, go back, listen to from the beginning. It's an amazing story. How you can break into the big tech, Microsoft. I know Thomas is having a great career and doing amazing things for his clients. And it was great to have you, Thomas. Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no worries. Thanks, Dayvisson. Sure appreciate it. We'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. This is it for today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thanks all.
Thanks for tuning in to the Tech Sales Funnels podcast, where we crack the code and uncover the strategies to break into tech sales. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who's ready to hack their way into this exciting career. Remember, hacking into tech sales isn't just a goal, it's a mission. Let's keep hacking, learning, and winning together. Catch you next time.